Happy Transgender Awareness Week, everybody. It's really cool. Google does this thing where they always tell you what's going on in the week. They always change like the symbol, their Google symbol. Let me hold up and get my timer going here. Professionals on this page once again. But yeah, guys, learn about GC2B, a Black and Latinx trans-owned business. I talked to, it was really fascinating. So Latinx is a gender neutral term that is used for Latino people. And I would love to get people's feedback. Is this something that you hear a lot? If you're a Latin person, Latin descent, do you have any type of knowledge on this? Does this make sense? Not that it makes sense, because it makes sense, obviously. It's very objectively honest. It's very objectively obvious what it is for, because when you say Latino, it's masculine, and if you're saying it to a female, then you're obviously should say Latina, but I don't think they say Latina, they say Latino. So Latinx is just kind of it's a hybrid gender. It's both genders in one. But I was like genuinely fascinated in it. I've never heard somebody actually say it before. So I asked a person from Mexico if they've ever heard of that, if they've ever experienced that, if that was even a thing. They didn't even know what it was. And I found that super interesting that somebody who is Latino didn't even know what that was. But it is a super fascinating thing. But I couldn't imagine being, it's so weird. Every time you hear somebody talk about like transgender or anything like that, I think, so the biggest problem that people have is not knowing what it means to be gay if you're not gay, or not, to be bisexual if you're not bisexual, or if you're not transgender, or if you're not asexual, if you're not pansexual, or if you're not, whatever it is that you are. It's got to be super frustrating to somebody who is transgender, or for somebody who is pre-transgender surgery, or somebody who is asexual, or somebody who is bisexual, to listen to people act like what they are is not a real thing, right? And this is super important. Like, it's, people joke around about things all the time, but I think it's super important for people not to pass judgment on things that they don't really know what it feels like. Like, there's no way I can know what it feels like to be transgender, because I was never born a hermaphrodite. And also, I always felt like I'm a man, and we don't know anything about like the chemistry of a body, the way, certain sexes especially feel. If you have an increased level of estrogen, if you have an increased level of testosterone, if you're a man and you have not an increase of estrogen, but you have a decreased level of testosterone, you don't know how that affects you, how it affects your brain, how it affects the way that you visualize the world. If you don't have an increased level of testosterone, I'm sure you could probably find a study where that person's not as driven to sporting events or more aggressive activities. Therefore, they don't hang out with much more very masculine men, so they feel a certain way. Or, there's just so many things that people don't know. And it's like, Transgender Awareness Week it's something that needs to be talked about. It needs to be celebrated. And I'm not saying that in like a ignorant way. It's really something I think people need to stop constantly negating that. I think a lot of people act like it's not real. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Anyways, happy Transgender Awareness Week. Everyone just needs to be kind to each other. This day and age, especially this day, people just need to start being more kind to each other. But we're not going to be kind. I'm just kidding. There has been a huge surge in coronavirus lately. And I don't want people to think I'm not trying to be a jerk. I really do mean it. Like Bill Burr did a really good bit on it. He talked about it, and he did it in a joking manner. He talked about African Heritage Month. He did it in a joking manner, but it is a really important thing. People need to take it serious. People need to stop acting like it's not real. Humans have this tendency, if it doesn't affect them, who gives a fuck? oh shit, that's going to get my ads taken down. But they just act like it, if it doesn't affect them, out of sight, out of mind. If it does not affect their immediate life, they don't care. You can't have that. You can't have that attitude. We have to come together at some point and actually support each other and realize that we're all just human. We're all just trying to make it through this life, which is hilarious because none of us are going to make it through this life, that's why all of it's so funny to me, because we're all going to die eventually. Like, I think the meaning of life, honestly, to me, is learning as much knowledge as you possibly can, to progressively take in information that you don't know, conversations with people you probably wouldn't always have on an everyday basis. And I think that is the most important thing to be human. I think that's the most important thing to live a fulfilling life, is to never be complacent, ever. And I mean complacent, like, in every possible way you can interpret that, whether it be financially, whether that be emotionally, whether that be like intellectually. If you think you are something, try to do something else. Like, if you think you are a painter and you think that that's what you're going to do your entire life, switch it up maybe, like, try something new, do something new, learn how to be bad at something again, right? Like, you remember when you were so bad, like I'm still bad. I'm still not that good. But like, when I first started the podcast, the thing that made it so exciting was that I was so bad at it. Like, I was so bad at it. I was not good. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no setup. I had like deer antlers behind my fucking shoulder that were falling off the podcast. Literally every like 10 seconds I was turning around and picking up deer antlers and like cussing because I had to turn off the camera again. Didn't even know what a Rode podcast it was. I spent the first 50 episodes with the microphone literally upside down. Like, literally I had the microphone upside down. It wasn't until someone told me that I had to put it the other way. And even then, I still didn't put it the other way. Like, even then, I still didn't put it. I'm trying to find, I also have a podcast stand, like a mic stand, that I have literally wrapped in duct tape because I just forgot to, this is probably just a personality I have, but like, I forgot to buy a certain piece. So instead of waiting for the new piece to come in, all I did was just wrap it up with a shit ton of duct tape. And I try to get by like that, but then my mic would literally just fall off in the middle of a podcast. Like, that was what made it so fun. Like, it sounds so stupid, but that's what made the podcast so exciting. Knowing that every single episode was going to get just a little bit better. And that's what I think the meaning of all this is. Like, you can think as much as you want, like, you're doing the right thing, right? You can think every day that what you think you're doing is positive. But if you really think about it, everything that we do in our daily life means nothing. So I think trying to find the meaning in something is super important. I think the best way to find meaning in things is to do things that you aren't good at, do them up to the point that you get really good at them, stop doing them, do them regularly, not, nothing crazy, but then try to do something else. Try to do something that you would have never imagined yourself doing. Like, for me, a podcast. I would have never, that's not true. I think I'm very eccentric in that sense. I like to do things that I know I'm not good at, like starting the clothing line, starting the podcast, starting a YouTube channel for fitness, and then a YouTube channel, and then like messing around with food challenges, and then, YouTube channel, multiple YouTube channels for Call of Duty gaming. Like, I think what makes life so unique and so addicting is to constantly, rotate your tires on a brand new activity. And that's what drives me every day. And I think that's what people are missing. People are just caught up in things that they've been doing for too long, and they're just bored. And when you get bored, you get angry. When you get angry, you get depressed. It's super fascinating to watch people just get caught up in these cycles on a daily basis. And all you have to do is to suck at something again. Because once you suck at something again, then there's only one thing you can do to get better. And when you get better, you progress. And when you progress, you feel like you're doing something good. Like you feel this sense of self-worth. Self-worth. When you feel that feeling of self-worth, everything else in your life seems to progress in a positive linear fashion. And this is my issue with like everything being given to you, is that when everything is given to you, that you don't have the opportunity for that, right? You don't have the opportunity to progress yourself. Like I don't know what the numbers are, but like the suicide rate for people who come from very, very wealthy families, it's high. For people who never have to actually, who even if they build something that makes them a lot of money or gets them a lot of recognition or makes them feel really good inside, it's really hard to feel a sense of self-worth when the people that you come from is already bigger than life, and that's why you see actors and movie stars and famous people, their offsprings, their kids usually don't end up doing super well because it's hard, it's scary, you can never escape that. You can never escape the grasp of your parents, of what the world thinks of you. You want to do things that people don't expect from you, right? That's what gives you meaning in this world. People. Let me take a sip of my coffee real quick. Awkward pause. By the way, if you do a podcast, you shouldn't have dead noise. So don't do what I did. You see people, we all know people. It could be you. It was me for a while. You see so many people on these paths in their life that if they really broke down, if they really were honest with themselves, they were very objective with themselves. They looked at themselves in the mirror and they were like, is this what I wanted to do? Right? And I get it. There's influences all the time. People influence you every day. You change your decisions every single day. But so many people are on a path. Every day they wake up and they're following this path that was never really their path, right? And that's really dangerous from a very philosophical level. That's a dangerous situation. Why is it a dangerous situation? One, because you still get the sense of fulfilling something, right? So you feel like you're doing well. But then when you accomplish the mission, when you complete the thing that you set out to do, you immediately feel this sense of resentment because you will eventually realize what it was is not what you wanted to do. It's what someone else wanted to do. So now you find yourself in a situation where you're successful in a very in a very societal way. You've completed the task that you were supposed to complete, but you're resentful. Why are you resentful? You did well, right? You completed a hard thing. Well, no, you're resentful because what you completed was not what you wanted to complete. It was what somebody, some group, or some people, a group of people, wanted you to accomplish. And that's a really dangerous situation. And you see it happen more often than it should. And it shouldn't bother me as much as it does, but it does because I see it. You can see it in people's eyes where they're accomplishing so many things, and it's so crazy because the way that we've created this society is that we have celebrations for things that people expected you to do, right? Everything, like birthdays are one example, but like, I don't know. I worry that people do so many things in this world that if they were very honest with themselves and they took a pill where they can't lie, that they wouldn't actually want to do that. They actually wouldn't want to do that. I mean, that's a scary thought if there was a pill where it was people had to be truthful for everything. I think there would be a lot of depression. There would be a lot of sadness. There'd be a lot of sadness in this world. I was going to talk about coronavirus, but fuck that. I don't want to talk about this shit anymore. That stuff is making me it's making me, what is it making me? I think it's just making me more than anything slightly depressed. Maybe not depressed because I don't feel depressed. It's almost like that's like the scapegoat emotion I'm saying, but I can't, I don't think I've been depressed enough to really fully grasp what depression feels like. So I don't want to say depressed because um, I don't want to say something that I know affects a lot of people if it's not 100% true, right? Like, I don't want to say, like, if I'm like, I don't like you don't just throw around, I'm feeling suicidal, because that's something that a lot of people deal with. And a lot of people fall through on that feeling and end up killing themselves. So that's another thing. Like, I don't want to just throw around depression, but I am feeling this, I guess, this ants, like this, maybe it's just a sadness. I think, you know what I feel like? I feel like the way a mom would feel, or the way a dad would feel if, one second. One second, guys. Okay, we're back. Sorry, guys. I don't know what I don't know what I was talking about. It probably wasn't that important though. Maybe I was. Maybe it was coronavirus. I think I was probably just starting to talk about coronavirus. But yeah, guys, I don't know if I want to stay away from that topic now. It's just making me sad at this point. Like, it's making me sad. It's making me sad for a few reasons. Reason number one, watch here, I got. Now I'm going to talk about it. The reason one why it's making me sad is because people don't listen, right? People aren't listening, so we have to suffer the consequences. People are not, they're not wearing the mask. People are moving in packs of 30. We're having elections, and then people go out and party for 3 days and forget about social distancing. They're all butt fucking in New York City. We're celebrating in Cleveland. We're out there celebrating the new president. So for 3 days we forget about coronavirus, and then we're shocked as a nation that there's a huge spike in coronavirus. We have this past week, over the weekend, fucking Trump decides to have a MAGA rally in DC. So we have another super spreading event. This time it's only in DC, which is good. But then Biden supporters come, and then they protest against the Trump supporters. So then we have the number one enemy is outsmarting our dumbasses because we like to go out there and scream at the top of our lungs because we consider that to be super. I don't know. I have no idea, but we forget that coronavirus exists for 2 weekends in a row. And then we have a bunch of like weird stuff that's happening, like all these not to be a conspiracy dude, but all these like vaccines are coming out like right after the new president wins, and then, countries are starting to lock down again, and states are starting to lock down again, and people are starting to lock down again. And here in Maryland, our fucking Stuart fucking Pussman, Stuart Pittman is just he most likely is going to just shut down the county again. And it's just like, I get it, people aren't listening, but it's not even like his fault. You just get frustrated. You feel like a child, and you're just angry. You're just mad at the situation. You're upset with people who can't follow the rules, the simple rules. Wear a mask. Like, just a lot of, I don't know. For me, it's hard for me because I listen to a lot of people talk about, the real reason why it's happening. Or I listen to other things, like other podcasts, and there's a lot of scary things that are happening, and there's a lot of things that don't add up, and there's a lot of like sketchy things that are going on, and you just don't know. And then, people who do get it seem to be okay, but then I know somebody who's had 2 family members pass away, and a third one's getting ready to die possibly. And it's just like, there's a lot of, it just makes me sad. I don't like it anymore. I'm tired of it. I wish it would just go away, but it's a pandemic and it's a virus and it just won't go away. And the thing that will really make me sad is if for some reason the new president's elected, or he's already elected, but when he gets put into power, it goes away or starts fizzling out, that would be just like the icing on the cake of like, well, fuck all this shit. But it's a real thing, and I know people who've had it, and I know people who've had it for a long time, and I know people who've gotten really sick from it, and yeah. So it's all those dumbasses that are refusing to wear a mask. Like I said in a podcast a while ago, put on the mask. Just put on the mask. Like, I know it sucks. It sucks. Trust me. I work at a job where I got to wear a mask the whole time. Nobody's excited about the mask. But wear the mask on. If you don't wear the mask, you shut down. Like, put the fucking mask on. Like, you don't need to go out to a restaurant to celebrate that your dog just learned how to pee in the backyard. Like people go to the restaurants. People celebrate the dumbest shit. Like I guess I understand a birthday. I guess I understand an anniversary. I guess like you got a promotion at work. But people are going to restaurants right now to celebrate that like they can now walk after they broke the foot 2 months ago at a party being drunk, and now they're going out to celebrate again that they get their cast removed. Like people are so dumb. Like don't do that. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? And then say, whoa, it's my right, like blah blah blah. I'm not a sheep. You're a sheep. Like fuck it, I'll kill your sheep. Like who cares? Just follow the rules. Don't you want a job? Like really? And then you get sad. You're like, oh, well, the government shouldn't be shutting down small business. Well, you're the reason why it's happening, bro. Like, you're the reason why we're going to have to shut everything down again. Duh. You're the reason why everything's going to have to shut down again. Because you're not wearing your mask. You're butt fucking 25 people. And then you scream on social media. People scream on social media when things are going out of control again. We're just 2 weeks ago on the social media, they're at a huge party. You're like, oh, shocker. Logic is not universal. That shit skips people. And don't get me wrong, I hate having to wear a mask. I'm so tired of it at this point. It's been like 8 months. I don't want to wear a mask. But I'm not a sheep. Like people use that shit like, you're a sheep. I'm not a fucking sheep. I'm following the rules, and I don't want to be sick. I just don't want to be sick. Right? Why would you want to be sick? You don't want to be sick. Who wants to be sick? That's not fun. Being sick isn't fun. When is it that trying to keep yourself healthy means you're a sheep? The fuck? This is why the world looks at us like we're the dumbest country in the world, because we do dumb shit all the time. I've been reading this book lately called The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. There's a few books I've read in my life where as I'm reading them, I'm like, this book is actually changing who I am, like for the better. The first one is Behave by Robert Sapolsky, which is right. Shit, where is it? Oh my god, it's like my biggest. Oh, right there. Robert Sapolsky. That book right there is one of the most brilliant books I've ever read. It does this beautiful job of implementing studies and implementing his opinions on the studies, implementing his studies because he also was a primatologist and an epidemiologist, that he would go there and study these primates for months on end. And he would talk about just the evolution of humans and the good side versus the bad side. And he would talk about huge genocides. He would talk about race and add it in like from a very biological level. But that book taught me that it's okay for me to feel smart, and it taught me that I can be smart, and I'm allowed to be an intellectual. I'm allowed to be an intelligent person. I'm allowed to be a smart person even around people who are much more educated than me. And I'm allowed to say things that aren't always true, or I'm allowed to say things that will allow me to learn more. Like what I'm saying is I'm allowed to say dumb things in order to become smarter. I think a lot of people don't become smarter because they're afraid to say something dumb. But the only way you can get smarter is if you say something dumb and then someone teaches you the other thing that's smarter. Then you're not that dumb anymore, right? Logical. But that book taught me that it's okay for me to be smart, which is wild. So many people live their life not knowing that it's okay to be a smart person. You know what I mean? Like so many people live their life thinking that they're not allowed to be a smart human being. And I don't know exactly why they think that. I mean, it makes sense because there's this weird American Westerner. Maybe it's probably universal. This weird thing that we do where we think that us being an intelligent human being means that someone else feels dumb. But the name of the game is when you are an intelligent person and you broadcast your intelligence, which is something that I think is a lot of intelligent people don't do. Like Taylor and I were talking about this. There's a real issue in the field of science where you don't do that. Like, you don't talk, and it's not bragging, but it's talking about what you know. And there's also a real issue where if there's something out there that you see this, like Lex Friedman talks about it. You see a lot in the sciences where these people who've been scientists for 40, 50, 60 years, they are not the ones making discoveries on new things. It's young scientists. And the reason why it's young scientists is because these young scientists have the ability to go in there without a biased opinion, and they will, if something makes sense, they run away with it, right? And they're not afraid to step on toes. And I think intelligence, for some reason, is scary. A lot of people are afraid to step on toes, but you have to step on toes. Like, you have to say, like, you have to put your opinions out there, because by doing that, you create a conversation. When you have a conversation, that's when people get smarter. But it's a great book. It taught me to be okay with trying to be smart, which I think a lot of people suck at, is being smart and trying to be smart and allowing themselves to be a knowledgeable person. So that, I highly recommend that book for that sense. Or I'm not recommending books. I'm telling you books that I've read that's helped me a lot. Another great book that has, I'm going to name you two books. Maps of Meaning by Jordan Peterson is like, I feel like I talk about these all the time, but this book right here is one of those books that you read. It's set up like a textbook. So it's not an easy book to read, and it requires a lot of time. Like, I read this book during the lockdown, but it teaches you the fundamental basis of giving meaning to anything, right? Like, it's super complicated, but what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of a good, healthy relationship? What is the meaning of having a job that makes you feel like you are doing something? What's the meaning of having a good relationship with your parents? And what does that mean if you don't? How do you develop a good relationship with your parents? How do you escape the comfort of being an innocent child and then actually going out of your way to put a burden of responsibility on yourself, which is like, you don't want to do, right? Because people always want life to be comfortable. But in order to get to comfort, you have to take things and you have to pile them on top of your shoulders and literally have them push you down. Like, it's really weird. Like, you see people, like, their shoulders get lower. Like, physically, the more responsibilities you put on yourself, you feel like you're drowning a little bit. Like, you feel like you're being pressed down by the world, but it's not just a feeling, it's physically happening to you. Like, it really is. It's physically happening. You're physically compressing yourself. Like, your shoulders drop a little bit, right? Your belly gets gets squishier, it gets fatter, right? You by struggling and putting yourself through things that require a high level of stress and responsibility, you are burdening yourself. But by creating and fulfilling those responsibilities and turning those burdens into successes, you, at the same time, you're gonna push those burdens off of you. And then next time you put burdens on you, you know how to deal with them. But that book talks about that. It talks about meaning in life. I think a lot of people don't see the meaning of living. But it makes sense though. It makes sense to not see the meaning of life. Right? It makes perfect sense because you die. You die. That's it. That's it, man. That's what this is. You die. In a very, very dark but brutal way, suicide in some way is like the ultimate sense of power. You decide when you die. Imagine this. And it's really hard for me to, I'm going to straddle this conversation as careful as I can, and I probably shouldn't talk about it, but I think it's something to at least ponder about. Here's a thought experiment. And I don't know where I heard this from. I might have just made it up in my own fucking warped brain of mine. But imagine if you took a pill and you could live forever. And everybody took that pill in the whole world. We all took that pill. So now we all have the ability to live as long as we want. Suicide in the other world, where there was an expiration date, is frowned upon. It's bad. It's evil. It's not frowned upon, but there's a sense, it is frowned upon. But there's a sense of sorrow for the person who's done it. You start to realize how much pain they were going through. But in this other world where you can literally live forever, you would look at suicide as honor. Right? Because you can control that. It's the only way for you to die. It's really weird. It's I don't know. It's a fascinating. I probably shouldn't talk about it unless I'm really like focused on it, because otherwise I just sound like an evil person. But it's an interesting concept to really try to wrap your head around. The idea of if you lived forever, taking your own life would be the most responsible thing to do, right? Maybe. I don't know. But since we know we have an expiration date, cheating that expiration date by you taking your life in your own hands is the ultimate sign of sadness. Because wouldn't you want nature to do it? But what if someone has an extreme fear of death? Which I think we all have. We all have an extreme fear of death. Death is scary. The scariest thing about death is it's not too scary enough for us to dread it every second of the day. That's what sucks about dying, dude. Is we have this weird thing as a human that and this is coming from this book, by the way, but a little bit put in from my own brain, because I've always thought about death. And the thing that I've thought the most about death is I'm not paralyzed when I think about death, but I should be. I should be paralyzed thinking about dying and losing everything. Like I really should. I should be paralyzed thinking about my life expiring. But as this animal of a sapien, we don't do that. If anything, the people who probably forget about death the most are the people who are the most successful. It's like if you could put a gap between death, that gap is usually filled with money and riches and success, power. You feel like you can get over it. You can get over death. But it eventually eats you alive. And that's why I think a lot of powerful people and a lot of dictators, maybe not dictators, but I think that's why I think suicide is such a common thing for people who are super successful. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just making that up. But I think it would make sense, though. Because if you're that successful, you literally feel like you tricked death. You outthought death. But then once you realize, I'm going to die. You don't want that. You want to take control of that. I don't know. It's fascinating. I would love to get Jordan Peterson's opinion on that. Man, I hope that man's okay. We need him. I miss him. I miss listening to him. He's special. He's a special individual. He is one of those people that, and this is, I don't know, we suck. People suck. This is what we do. We take great minds, we take great artists, we take great athletes, and we just don't care about them until they pass away. Like Juice WRLD, no one listens. I mean, I still listen to him almost on a daily basis, but people don't listen to Juice like they used to. But they did right after he died. But now he's kind of forgotten about. You know, King Von's the same way. A young rapper who got murdered. I never listened to him. But everyone remembers you when you die. You know, and I think Jordan Peterson is the same fucking way. He's misrepresented in the media like crazy as a misogynist, as anti-transgender, as anti-this, anti-that. He's none of that. He's none of that, man. And it's so sad to see, because it makes me sad, because I look at him as someone who has saved me, who has taught me responsibility, has taught me to really, really know what it means to be a powerful man. And by being a powerful man is not being a powerful man, but it's being a powerful man and knowing when to be powerful. When to display that and when to not. And it hurts me to see him just villainized and just outright a piece of shit, misogynistic, hates women, doesn't think they should ever be paid the same as men. But no, it's not that. And this is the thing, is the simplicity that people want everything to be just doesn't exist. Life is not simple. Nothing is simple, man. These concepts are super complicated, as they should be. They should be super fucking complicated. But people don't want that. People want simplicity all the time. They don't want complication. If something makes your life hard, I don't want it. I want everything to be in this perfect little box. And I'm not going to read these passages today. I'm going to leave this for my next podcast. But I have one, two, I have three passages I want to read from this book. I sound like a crazy Bible person. Like, oh, I got these 3 passages I want to read because God is coming back within 5 days. Like, I sound like one of those fucking, you remember that asshole who asshole. He was an asshole. That asshole who island people shoot missionary with arrow. You guys remember that? Fucking dumbass. Here we go. Isolated tribe kills American. I love that as an American with bow and arrow on remote Indian island. John Allen Chow seemed to know that what he was about to do was extremely dangerous. Mr. Chow, an American thought to be in his 20s, was floating in a kayak off a remote island in the Andaman Sea. He was about to set foot on the most sealed-off parts of India, an island inhabited by a small, enigmatic, don't know what that word is, and highly isolated tribe whose members have killed outsiders for simply stepping on this shore. He thinks it's a good. Mr. Chow's like, I'm going to teach them. I'm going to teach them what it means to be a real American. What it means to be a real American. I'm gonna walk in and teach them Catholicism. What? I just connect my Google to New York Times. I didn't mean to do that. Whoa, what the? I don't want to subscribe. Fuck you, New York Times. What is this? What is this? Where's my story? Where's my story? There we go. Fisherman warned him not to go. This Catholic was like, I'm doing it. Or this Christian was like, I'm doing it. Few outsiders have never been there. And Indian government regulations clearly prohibited any interaction with the people on the island. You can't even go there. North Sentinel. But Mr. Chow pushed ahead, setting off in his kayak, which he had packed with a Bible. He packed it with a Bible. He has a Bible. He's going to go convert all these people. After that, it is a bit of a mystery what happened. But the police say one thing is clear. Mr. Chow did not survive. What was I talking about? I don't know what I was talking about. Maybe the need to change everything. On Wednesday, the Indian authorities said that Mr. Chow had been shot with bows and arrows by tribesmen when he got on shore, and that his body was still on the island. Fishermen who helped take Mr. Chow to North Sentinel told the police that they had seen tribesmen dragging his body on the beach. It was a misplaced adventure, said Deborah Pathak, the police chief in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. He certainly knew it was off limits. Mr. Pathak said Mr. Chow, believed to be 26 to 27 and from Washington State. I'm telling you, dude, Washington, what are you guys doing? Not everything's progressive. May have been trying to convert the islanders to Christianity. Messed up, dude. Right before he left in his kayak, Mr. Chow gave the fisherman a long note in case he did not come back. In it, police officials said he had written that Jesus had bestowed him with the strength to go to the most forbidden place on earth. No, he didn't. Jesus didn't tell you that. You were high, sir. You took way too many mushrooms. You took too much acid, buddy. He didn't tell you that. Jesus would never tell you that. Jesus is sitting up there like, dude, there's enough Christianity in the world. Like the Pope's fucking kids, the Colonel's fucking little boys, the Boy Scouts are getting in trouble. Like there's enough Catholic going on in the world. Like, dude, like all the churches, all the priests are out there just having sex with kids like on a crazy basis. It was enough. We don't need this Indian tribe. They look happy. they're happy. They're eating coconuts. They're eating insects. They're doing the damn thing. They're hunting fish with a spear. You don't need to come here. Why would you come here? What are you doing? Stay home. Jesus is like, dude, just stay home. Like, come on, man. The Crusades, like, I just want Christianity to just be where it is. I don't want to expand anymore. We've expanded enough. But Mr. Chow was like, hey, man, Jesus, I know that you are my God and I should be listening to you, but I'm going there. And I'm probably going to die, but I'm doing it for you. Jesus is like, God damn it, dude. This is people like you that are giving Christianity a bad rap. And I guess the Pope. On Wednesday, in a post on Mr. Chow's Instagram account, his family expressed deep sadness and said he was a beloved son, brother, uncle, and best friend to us. To others, he was a Christian missionary, a wilderness EMT, an international soccer coach, and a mountaineer. They all seemed to hold out some hope that he had survived. Nah, dude, they're eating him. They're eating him on the island with bows sticking out of his ass, saying the report of his death was unconfirmed. They also said they forgave those who might have been responsible for his death. Go check him. You know what I say? I say you go try to find him. See what happens. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. It's sad. It's sad. He shouldn't have done that. It's sad that they've shot bows at him. But guess what? That's what they do, man. They don't want strangers there. Plus, that island has a weird history with people going there. But yeah, guys, I'm definitely next podcast. I'm really excited for this book by John Paul Sartre. It's Being in Nothingness, the principal text of modern existentialism. This is like a fucking 800-page book. I'm really nervous to read it, but I know I need to read it. But I'm also going to read The Food of the Gods, Terence McKenna's book, The Search for the Original Tree of Knowledge, a radical history of plants, drugs, and human evolution. I don't do drugs, which is even wild that I read shit like this, but I think it's super important to at least accept the idea that maybe we're all just fucking... The reason why our brains are like this is because we just get high as shit. Wild to think. That's crazy to think. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for constantly supporting the podcast. I have to go. I got to run. I got to go to work, make money to pay for life. I'm going to definitely read you guys the podcast, my book next episode. That's what I want to do. It's something I want to start adding more onto the podcast, is reading to you. Sounds weird, sounds gay, but not like gay. Like, I didn't mean it like in a bad way. But it sounds weird. But I'm going to do it because I really want to. I love you guys so much. I'll catch you guys in episode 141 on Thursday. Peace out. See you. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.